Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time here, welcome to my channel and welcome to today's video. So for today's video, I'm going to be answering some twin mom and twin related questions that I asked you guys to ask me both over on my Instagram and on the YouTube community tab. I made a few posts over on my Instagram and then one post on the community tab here on YouTube, and with those posts, I got a few questions from you guys that I'm going to answer for you today. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you do, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, head on down there and subscribe. I appreciate that always. And with that being said, let's just jump into the video. So I have my computer down here with all the questions on them. So if you see me looking down, that is what I'm looking at. I'm going to try and keep this video as short and sweet as I can, but if you guys know me, I like to blab a little bit. So we're just going to jump right into it, and I'm actually going to answer the questions that I got over on my Instagram first. I only got a few, but they are a bit longer. I feel like all the questions I got for this video are a bit in depth, so I'm just going to jump right into it. And the first question I got was, if you do take the boys in public, maybe that's limited due to the pandemic, do you get asked questions like, did you use fertility drugs? Did you breastfeed? Did you have a C-section or vaginal birth? I'm a triplet and my mom always got asked these questions. So because of the pandemic, the boys have not been in public all that much. I didn't start taking them out into public until recently, since they were born on January 20th. And you really are instructed not to take a newborn up until the 12-week mark into public anyway. And so when that 12-week mark did come about, I'm in New York, we were on a lockdown because of the pandemic, and so once the restrictions started to be lifted, the boys and I started to go out a little bit more. I've been to some coffee shops. I took them to Bye Bye Baby once, and so they haven't really been in public all that much, and because of that, I really don't get stopped by strangers and asked these types of questions, which I'm a little bit sad about, because I know it would probably get annoying if it did start happening a lot, but I don't know, I kind of want to be asked these questions. When I was pregnant with the boys, I got stopped all the time and asked a whole bunch of questions. And so I was kind of used to it at that point for that period of time. But I haven't really been stopped all that much with the boys out in public. I think I got stopped at Bye Bye Baby once, and the woman asked if they were twins. And I think when I went to a coffee shop once, someone asked me if they were twins, but that was basically as far as that went, was just people asking if they were twins. I mainly get asked questions by people at my doctor's office or some family and friends when they first meet them. They ask, oh, are they fraternal or identical? Since a lot of people do think that the boys look really similar, even though I don't see that at all. A lot of people think that they look very similar, so I get asked if they're fraternal or identical. A lot of friends and family already know that I had a vaginal birth, so I don't really get asked if I had a C-section. What else did she ask? I don't really get asked if if I used fertility drugs, but I do get asked, or I have gotten asked, if it is genetic, if I have twins in my family, which I don't. These are the first set of twins we have in both my family and Harris's, which is their father's family. So yeah. Short answer, I don't really get stopped all that much, mainly because I don't go out all that much with them. And I also think because of the pandemic and everything, people are less likely to approach others and ask questions like they probably would have done before the pandemic, because a lot of people are more cautious now of coming into contact with others and strangers, just because you don't know who has or has had or has been into contact with someone with the virus. So yeah, short answer, unfortunately, I have not been stopped all that much and asked those types of questions. And yeah, I kind of wish I was. The next question I got asked, is one easier to take care of than the other? And I would have to say it really depends on the day. Sometimes one boy will sleep in longer than the other one, or will just get more restful sleep or restful naps. And so the one who did not get such restful sleep will be a little bit more cranky and hard to take care of. Or, one day one boy is off and the other one isn't. So I really would have to say it really depends on the day who is easier or more difficult to take care of. Earlier on, Ben was a lot more difficult to feed. He would throw these fits whenever we would try and feed him, and so it was really difficult to feed him, but he kind of outgrew that, and now it's Jack who's more difficult to feed. He's a very distracted eater, and so if there are a lot of people in the room or if the TV is on or something like that, sometimes he will get very distracted and not want to eat, and then he will get so hungry that he really wants to eat, and then he just kind of has trouble sucking the bottle down as quickly as he wants to. So it really honestly depends on the day and depends on the baby's mood, which I think goes for any baby out there. So yeah, I would have to say it really depends on just the day. The next question I got asked was, do you ever have a hard time tending to one boy when the other one is so upset and you're alone and they both want their mama? I have a 6-month-old baby boy and it's hard to get things done when he wants me to hold him. Now, as of recently, it hasn't really been all that difficult to tend to both of them. I think just because they've kind of grown out of the phase of being really sad or upset at times. Really early on, right when my mom left, it was so difficult for me to tend to both of them. I think I just didn't realize that both boys may need me at the same time, because when my mom was here 24/7, she was holding one and I was holding the other, or vice versa. And so there wasn't really time for one to get upset while I was holding the other, if that makes any sense. So once my mom did leave, I realized that they do get upset at the same time, and I had to kind of learn how to tackle those situations. And before I started tandem breastfeeding, if you guys didn't know, I breastfed for the first 6 or 7 weeks exclusively, and then I did like a combination of breast milk and formula up until 13 weeks. I didn't start tandem feeding until they were like 4 weeks maybe. And so before I started tandem feeding and when my mom left, it was really hard because previously I would feed one and my mom would hold the other and keep him occupied or asleep. But once my mom left and I was home alone with them and I had to navigate feeding, I would feed one and the other one would start screaming, hysterically crying, hungry, wanting food, and I didn't know how to juggle that. I couldn't hold that baby while I was breastfeeding the other one, and so I would like lay them next to me on the couch and try and give them their binky, and they just didn't want it. My boys don't really take a pacifier all that often, and so that was really difficult, and that's what pushed me to start tandem feeding. And once I started tandem feeding, that issue went away, because when both boys were hungry, they both would feed at the same time, then they would get off and they would be completely fine. Now, you know, I've kind of learned how to pick them both up at the same time. When they were so little, it was really hard to pick them both up at the same time because you had to be really careful with how you held them and manipulated them. But now that the boys are more sturdy, I kind of have figured out ways to hold one of them and like toss the other one up in my arms. And I sit on the couch with both of the boys like right here in my arms a lot, or I have both of them on my lap. It's just easier to pick them up now and hold them both at the same time. So rarely do I ever have an instant where they're both screaming and I don't know what to do. I think I've definitely learned to tackle it, and it was definitely a challenge in the beginning. So that is all I got over on my Instagram. I know I only got like a few questions from you guys, but now I'm going to head over to the community tab where I got a few more questions. So the first question that I got asked was, did you implement a schedule, sleep training, or sleep routine with the twins? How were you able to get them to sleep through the night, and when did they start sleeping through the night? Then the same person also asked, did you feed the twins on the same schedule from the start? How did you manage night feedings? And your channel is great, by the way, so thank you. I'm actually going to start with the second part of this question with the feeding, since I'm kind of on the topic of breastfeeding and tandem and everything like that. So I'm going to start with, did you feed the twins on the same schedule from the start? Which I actually have my notebook over here that I brought with me to the hospital and used for the first few weeks of the boy's life when I was breastfeeding. And so from the start in the hospital, they would hand me one twin. I'll show you guys what it looked like. This was from, I literally wrote on the top, day 2, woo! This was the day after the boys were born. And so I would write what time I fed them. So here I have 6 a.m. feeding, and then at 6 a.m. is when I fed the first baby, and I would literally write baby A and baby B, even though the boys did have names. So at 6 a.m., baby B, which was Ben, fed, and he fed for 15 minutes on the right side. And then at 6:35 a.m., baby A fed, which was Jack, and he fed for 15 minutes on the left side. And you go through pages of my notebook, and this is just what you see me writing, which baby fed at what time, for how long, and on what side. And this is just kind of what worked for me. So I did feed the boys on the same schedule with regards to, like, I would feed one baby, and when that baby was done, I would feed the other baby. And they always fed within like 20-30 minutes of each other. And a little bit after getting home from the hospital, I actually did start to write when they had a wet diaper or when they like pooped, so I would be able to keep track of that. But this goes on for a while, and then once I did start tandem feeding, as you can see, I just have like at 1 p.m. they both started, obviously at 1 o'clock tandem, how long it was, which was 25 minutes, and then I have like A was on the right and B was on the left so that I could switch, because they do instruct you to switch what side a baby feeds on every time they feed. When you have twins, you want to swap them. And so I did feed the boys on the same schedule from the start. And as for night feedings, I would feed the first baby. When he woke up to eat, I would get up, I would feed him, change his diaper, put him back in the bassinet, and I would wake the second twin to feed them. I always woke the second twin to keep them on the same schedule. Even if he was still asleep and in a dead sleep, I would wake that baby up so that they would always eat within like 30 minutes of each other. And then of course, once I tandem fed, once one woke up, I would wake the other one up right away. I would change both their diapers and I would put them both on to feed, and then I would go back to sleep. And then once the boys started to get bottles in the middle of the night, it was the same thing. When one baby woke, I would wake the other one to feed them so that they were always on the same schedule. I could not imagine if I fed one baby, got him to go back to sleep, fell back asleep, and then like 30 minutes later, the other baby woke up to eat, and then they were just all in an off schedule. It has seriously been a life changer, like a lifesaver, having these boys on the same schedule from the beginning, with feeding, with naps, with diapers, everything like that. It just makes my life so much easier. So I did keep the boys on the same schedule from the start, and then night feedings, like I said, I would always wake the second boy. And I actually got this idea from my mom's friend who had triplets. She said that she would never wake them to eat, but when the first baby woke up to eat, she would wake the subsequent babies to eat as well, to keep them on the same schedule. So that is what I did for feeding. Now moving on to, did you implement a schedule, sleep training, or sleep routine with the twins? How were you able to get them to sleep through the night, and when did they start sleeping through the night? So I learned of taking care of babies, I think either through like scrolling through Instagram or from other YouTubers. I just kind of heard of this page, Taking Care of Babies. And so I went on her page and I started doing some research. I would say about week 2 or week 3, because the first few weeks of babies' lives, they literally just eat and sleep and you have no issues with it. But once we hit like the 3 or 4 week mark, I realized that they're not just gonna eat and then lay in their bassinet and go right back to sleep. They kind of wince and move around a little bit as they start to get older. And so that is when I actually bought the Taking Care of Babies newborn sleep class, and she recommends a sleep class for babies from 0 to 12 weeks of life. And she says you really should start implementing about 4 weeks of life, since 0 to 4 weeks, it's really, they just sleep on their own anyway. And so I would say I started to slowly implement everything that she learned, or everything that she taught in her newborn sleep class, at about weeks 4 or 5. But the boys really didn't start picking up on all these little things that I started until maybe weeks 7 or 8, I would say. It took some time for both myself and Harris and the boys to get used to the things that I was implementing, things that she talks about that seriously help so much. Swaddling your baby, even if you think your baby doesn't like it, she teaches you how to swaddle a baby that might not like it. Sound machine or white noise, that's great and always helpful to drown out any other noise in the house. I'm trying to think, a dark room is really helpful. Full feeding she talked about. So I would highly recommend, if you're struggling with sleep, she has classes from 0 to 12 weeks of age, 3 to 4 months, which is usually when the first sleep regression hits, and then 5 to 24 months. She has 3 different classes you can purchase. I highly recommend checking out her Instagram for the free resources she has, and also her blog. She has nap schedules, which I still use to this day, mock nap schedules. And like I said, you can purchase her courses all through her Instagram. So I'll actually leave her Instagram down below. That is the page I use. I know there's a bunch of different sleep consultants and certified sleep training individuals out there, especially on Instagram, but Taking Care of Babies is the one I use. So I started to implement her sleep training with the boys very early on. Like I said, they didn't really pick up on it for a few weeks, but the first time the boys slept through the night, I think it was at 13 weeks, they were waking up for probably 2 times in the middle of the night from weeks 8 onward, and then all of a sudden it dropped to 1 feeding at 4 o'clock in the morning, and then one day the boys just slept until 6 o'clock in the morning, and I remember jumping up and freaking out. I was like, oh my god, are they still alive? Which they were. But I would say around 13 weeks is when they started sleeping through the night. And in the Taking Care of Baby sleep class, she teaches you and talks about how to slowly stretch those windows in the middle of the night to get them to sleep through the night, even if it's just stretching it by 5 minutes, and then the next night 10 minutes, and then 15 minutes, so that you are able to slowly drop those feedings and get to them sleeping through the night, which I'm so lucky that they started sleeping through the night, especially at 13 weeks, and especially being twins. You would think one would sleep through the night and the other one wouldn't want to, which might have been the case, who knows, because I was always waking another baby. But 13 weeks. And I actually did do a whole video on how I sleep train my twins. I will link that down below for you guys to check out if you haven't seen it and you want more information about how I got them to sleep through the night and everything, and how we slowly weaned out their night feedings. But short answer, I started using the Taking Care of Babies newborn sleep class, and I did purchase her 3 to 4 month sleep guide, which really helped with nap schedules and getting through the 4-month sleep regression. And ever since then, ever since the boys have been in their room, we have not had a single problem with night sleep. Naps are still a challenge. Some days they're better than others, but I do have the boys on a pretty like neat, nice nap schedule. And so, yeah, I think that answers that question. The next question I got was, how did you feel becoming a young mom with twins? Now, I don't know if I ever talked about this. I'm sure I have somewhere along the way, but when I found out I was pregnant with, you know, a baby, when I found out that I was pregnant, I really wasn't that scared. I kind of always have wanted to be a somewhat younger mom, and so obviously 22 in today's day and age is pretty young, but I didn't feel all that unprepared. I was in a stable relationship with the boy's father, who I'm still in a relationship with today. We were together for 4 years. He is a little bit older than me. He's 9 years older than me, and so he is financially stable, has a career set up, everything like that. So I wasn't worried about the relationship with the father. I wasn't worried about our financial standpoint. I had family and friends who from the get-go supported me, which I think was a really big thing with helping me get through that, was the support system and, you know, kind words and love, especially from my parents, my 2 moms. They were seriously the best. So I wasn't all that scared when I found out that I was pregnant, even though I did get some not so nice responses from some people. I really wasn't that scared. The funny thing, I don't know if I ever talked about this, but I actually went to go stay with my grandma when I found out I was pregnant for like a week or 2 so that it could just like sit and settle in. And so I was leaving her house to go to my first doctor's appointment, and like 2 days before that doctor's appointment, she was talking about how, you know, she was an only child and she always wished that she was a twin. It was something she always wanted. She really wanted to be a twin. And she was like, imagine you were having twins. And so when I left their house, I went to that doctor's appointment that day, and the ultrasound tech, which by the way was one of my friends from high school's moms, which I think also really helped kind of ease my nerves and everything. She was amazing. I loved going to see her every few weeks. And so when we started the appointment, I was already very comfortable and warm because she seriously is one of the nicest people ever. When she started the ultrasound, which I can do a whole story. I don't know if I ever went into depth about how we found out we were having twins and what went on in that doctor's office that day, but let's just say Harris almost died. When we found out we were having twins, he was in such shock. Like I said, I could do a whole video on this if you guys want to see it. Please let me know down below. I will so film that for you guys. It's actually really funny. He was in complete shock, but for some reason, I just had this calm feeling, like my grandma almost knew and like predicted it. And because she said that, I was like, this is so meant to be. I am so meant to be a twin mom. This is like God or someone talking to me and saying like, this is what you're meant to be. And so I really, even though it's a scary thought, and it's definitely, especially being like a first time mom, it's definitely a scary thought to like, how am I going to adjust to having 2 babies? But I was oddly calm and like not nervous, which might be crazy, but I really wasn't that scared. Of course, you have the normal concerns, you know, especially with twin pregnancies, like having preterm labor or having any sort of complications, like normal things I was nervous about. But like finding out I was pregnant, I really wasn't that scared because I knew we were in a good, not like the best position, but we were in a good position. You know, we could take care of these kids, we could afford living, and we had a good relationship. So I wasn't scared about that. And for some reason, I was just like, I'm meant to be a twin mom. And so I really took it and ran with it. And it seriously is one of the best things that has ever happened in my life. I look at my boys even to this day, and I don't want to cry. I don't know why I'm getting choked up, but I look at my boys today and it blows my mind. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would have these 2 amazing babies who seriously have changed my life for the better. I never knew you could love something the way you love a child. And so, yeah, I was not scared. I was so excited. And I seriously am so lucky to be these boys' mom. Oh my God. I can't believe I'm getting choked up right now. Oh my God, I really did not expect this. Moving on, let's try and cut these waterworks here. I have a few more questions for you guys. So the next question is a bit of a long one. She said, how did you adjust to your postpartum body after twins? I'm 31 weeks with twin boys and so nervous for anything postpartum. I'm afraid I'll never want to put on a bikini again or even let my husband see my body. I've only gained 20 pounds and I'm 145 pounds now, but the stretch marks are starting to come. Sorry, it's kind of a deep question. We're like the same age and you're the only young person I know and I've found that has twins this young. So it may sound crazy or stupid, but my body is the last thing that I'm concerned about, which not to say like you shouldn't be concerned about eating healthy and taking care of your body, which of course those are things I am concerned about and I'm proactive about, but like the stretch marks are the last thing I think about, which is crazy because I have done a video on how I feel like I have body dysmorphia and my insecurities that I have. And so when I started getting stretch marks, I'm the type of person that will harp on something so hard. And when I saw my body starting to develop stretch marks, it was the biggest concern in my life. My world was ending, and I know that sounds so dramatic, but that is how I thought. My Snapchat camera roll was just pictures of my belly. I would take a picture every day and examine where the new stretch marks were, which ones were getting worse. When I say I harped on these stretch marks, I harped on these stretch marks. And so I thought, you know, I was going to hate my body after I had the boys, and, you know, I was never going to wear a bathing suit again. I was never going to be confident in my body. I was never going to be comfortable with my body. All these things that you are concerned about, the girl who asked the question, I felt. I was 122 pounds when I got pregnant with the boys. I wound up gaining 50 pounds total. It was the largest I've ever been. Before I got pregnant with the boys was the skinniest I've ever been. And I still was not happy with my body then. And I wish I could go back to that body and smack myself around and say, you look so good. Why are you so self-conscious? Seriously, guys, I had all the normal insecurities when I started to get extremely big with the boys. But when I had them, I was really not concerned with it. After everything my body went through and what I did to have these two boys, I one day just like looked at myself in the mirror and I was just like, you did the most amazing thing ever growing a human being, let alone, you know, growing two human beings. I had a full term. I was like 36 weeks, which is considered full term for twins. I had a full term healthy pregnancy. I had a basically picture perfect vaginal delivery of both my boys. I did such an amazing thing that there was no reason to beat myself up over my body. And if your partner, your husband truly loves you, he will look at you and love you just the same as you were before. He will realize your body brought into the world your beautiful babies, and he will learn to love you. Harris, surprisingly, I mean, that sounds bad, but like, I was worried that he was gonna be like, your body looks a little weird, but he's so supportive of my body, still loves me, hypes me up, calls me sexy, all these things, which is even more empowering. And I just look back at pictures of myself 36 weeks pregnant and I say, for being as big as I was, I look great right now. And so I just think you have to come to terms with the amazing thing that your body is doing and know that every stretch mark, every, you know, piece of loose skin, cellulite, fat, anything that your body has after birth was so worth it to have your babies. And it takes 9 months to cook a baby. For me, it took 36 weeks to cook those boys. And so I shouldn't even start judging my body until 36 weeks after I have them, because that's how long it took to make them, and that may be how long it takes to get my body back to where I want it to be, or it might take longer. Like, you just really need to have like a heart-to-heart with yourself and look at yourself and know that you're beautiful and what you did was so amazing. That is what I did, and that is really how I learned to become comfortable. Of course, I still have my days where I look in the mirror and I'm like, you're fat, you have loose skin, you need to go to the gym. And then there's days I wake up and I'm like, I love my body, look at my boys, look what I did. So I say, you know, take every day as a new day, learn to love yourself. And if you love yourself, you should, you know, feel love from others, and don't be too concerned with stretch marks. Those are just like, it's seriously, with society nowadays, things like this, postpartum bodies, mom bodies, everything like that should be so much more normalized than they are. I feel like a lot of women on Instagram and influencers still have their children edit their bodies to have these false expectations, and then people like us who are normal look at that and look at ourselves and we just beat ourselves up over it. But there are so many different body types, so many different pregnancies. No pregnancy is ever the same, so no postpartum is ever going to be the same. So take all that into consideration and really just, I think the main thing is to accept and, you know, realize the amazing thing that your body did, and your stretch marks and everything will just be a distant memory, a distant worry, and you will learn to love them just like I've learned to love mine. All right, this video is very long. I know I said I wasn't going to make it that long, so I'm going to go on to the last question, which is a quick question, and then we'll wrap this video up. And that is, has it been hard for you to deal with school and the twins? And honestly, so far, no. I think mainly because I'm only taking one class at a time right now. On my second summer course, I took the first summer course solely, and then I took a second summer course. And I have a really great routine. When the boys go down for their naps, I dedicate that time to my schoolwork. And then when they go down at night, I also dedicate that time to my schoolwork. I think as long as you have a good schedule, you have great time management, and you are very organized with yourself, anything is possible. And so even with being a young stay-at-home mom, I'm not a single mom, I have Harris here, don't worry. Even being a young stay-at-home mom who takes care of the children all the time, I still wake up every morning, set myself a to-do list, a schedule, a list of things that I want to get done for the day, and I make sure I tackle that so that I feel very accomplished with myself. And I always make sure to make time for my schoolwork. My kids come first, my relationship comes next, schoolwork comes soon thereafter. Like, I make sure my priorities are up here, that they are set, that I know what they are, and that I focus on those. I think it might be a little bit more difficult once I start taking my final 3 classes for my undergraduate degree in the fall. I'll be taking 3 classes at once, all online because of the pandemic, which is great. I don't have to deal with daycare and everything, but I do have to tune in on my computer during certain times. So I think juggling that, I'll definitely have to have help here for that. And then, you know, juggling 3 courses work might be a little bit more difficult, but so far I haven't had all that trouble doing it. I think just because I'm such an organized person, I have great time management, that it hasn't been too hard. So that is everything that I'm going to answer for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, if you want the story of how we found out we had twins and what went down in that doctor's office, I will so film that for you guys. It seriously is hysterical. Kind of sad, but hysterical. So if you guys want to see that, let me know in the comments down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this Q&A. I hope it wasn't too rambly. I hope I didn't talk too fast, and I hope it wasn't too long for your likings. But yeah, I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.